Hey y'all, IrixGuy here, and this is one of my favorite ways to smoke spare ribs. Now, a lot of people may argue that, what I'm about to do as far as the preparation is different than how they may do it. But just try this for yourself and see how it comes out. So the first thing I'm going to do is use a soda. You can use whatever brand, you just want to make sure it's a cola. So I'm going to get this. I've already put my spare ribs in my casserole dishes. I'm going to put this cola on top of the spare ribs. And obviously it goes without saying, depending upon how many ribs you're cooking, that'll dictate how much cola you use. This is good because it's sweet, it's sugary, and as part of the initial step here, this really helps to add that flavor profile that we're looking for. I'm making sure I'm recording. I think I am. Yes, I am. I would have felt stupid if I wasn't. The next thing is a barbecue salt. Now this is the one I like right here, and you can expand this video's description and then click the link there. But for the most part, something with some garlic and some pepper, and this has salt, black pepper, granulated onion, garlic, paprika, chili powder. So this has pretty much everything one might want. So there's a lot of varieties. Again, personal preference. The real flavor of this is going to come from the hickory smoke and the homemade barbecue sauce that we're going to make here in a minute. Just put this generously on top of your ribs. Just want to get a good coating there. Do the same thing for the remainder over here. Got a good coating there. The next thing we want to do is, and this is something I do a little bit differently. I got some butter. Put some butter on top. And then I've got a freshly cut onion and garlic clove. You can see the garlic right there. I've got garlic in with it as well. What you want to do is just throw this in. It's not like if you want to finely chop this, you can, but for the sake of saving time, I often just, sort of chop it up, because really all this is going to do is add flavor during the initial part of the process. Because once we start smoking, all of this is going to, this is going to fall off. So, but just coat it, to the best of your abilities here with the garlic and the onion. This not only helps with flavor while it cooks, but there's several ways it gets the flavor. The aromatics, this penetrates that meat with that good garlicky flavor, because part of what makes a really good rib, in my opinion, is the is the balance of smoke, the hickory flavor, but also a little bit of spice that you get from the pepper, and then the garlicky type taste. You don't want it to be overpowering, but if you can get your meat to have that good, if you've ever done a steak, for example, that you marinated properly and then you grilled it, turned out great. If you get that balance where the marinade doesn't overpower the hickory flavor or the flavor of the meat, you've done it right. So for that reason, this first step for me, I keep kind of simple, because this is, this is just really going to add an awesome flavor during the initial step of cooking these spare ribs. So You know, and what we're going to do here in a minute is probably going to blow your mind, because, you know, most everybody's got their own technique when it comes to cooking ribs. You know, I love the hickory flavor, but, you know, what's funny about it is that you can do it all on the grill and it can turn out great, or it can turn out a little bit disappointing. So the reason I do this is my pre-bake, where I establish the enhanced flavor profile from all of these ingredients that I just put on here, and then also the the tenderness that this is going to bring out. So let me show you what we do next here. We just get some aluminum foil. You want to cover each one of these tightly. Okay, so there's my first one. And then here's my second one. Now, I've played with different temperatures. I played with different durations, but what I'm going to do here is 250 degrees bake for 3 hours. So obviously, as thick as these ribs are, they're not going to be done in 3 hours. But what will happen is that, let me get in the picture here. So what will happen in 3 hours, I'll take them out of the oven and then start the smoking process. But let's go ahead and hop in. What really makes these great is the homemade barbecue sauce. There's no store-bought anything in this. I mean, well, technically the barbecue seasoning salt that I used is store-bought, and you can find it linked within this video's description. But the barbecue sauce is homemade, so let's get that barbecue sauce going. So this is the first step for making the barbecue sauce. So you want to get a, and again, this all depends upon how many ribs you're cooking. But for this, I'm going to use 1 cup of white vinegar. So I'm going to put 1 cup of white vinegar in here. And then I'm going to use about a ½ cup of Worcestershire. Well, not even really a ½ cup, about a 1/3 of a cup. And again, a lot of this is a matter of personal taste preference. That's the one thing about Worcestershire, it takes a while to get it out of this. So I did about a 1/3 of a cup. But you can do whatever you feel is acceptable. So we got our vinegar, we've got our Worcestershire. Now we're going to add some black pepper. Fresh ground black pepper is the only way to go. Those pepper flakes, that you get in a pepper shaker don't add really any flavor. Now this is a matter of how spicy you want it. For a lot of people, freshly ground black pepper alone is enough to give it a little bit of a kick. But if you want to bump it up a little bit more, you can add red pepper flakes. But again, that's completely optional. Garlic powder. This is not garlic salt. This is garlic powder. So again, a matter of personal preference. I like things garlicky, so I'm going to put quite a bit. And again, that was garlic powder, not garlic salt, because here is sea salt. So instead of using a garlic powder that has salt already in it, I used garlic powder only, then added sea salt, fresh ground pepper, white vinegar, and Worcestershire. So this is almost our base. There's one more thing. If you don't have fresh lemons, just use some lemon juice. Put a little bit of that in there. And now what you want to do is you want to bring this to a boil. So, just bring it to a boil. That's our first step, because this sauce is not finished. This is just one component of the barbecue sauce. So we're going to let that boil and we'll be right back. Okay, this is about to come to a boil, so I've just been gently stirring it while it's doing that. It's important to bring it to a boil because it makes all those flavors go together. And again, this is just the base of the barbecue sauce, because we got to bring it to a boil, which is almost there. It doesn't take long. And it is worth mentioning, what you will want to do is, after you make this batch of what I call the base, you're going to want to take this and put it in some sort of cup or something, or squirt bottle, after it cools down a little bit. Because what you'll do with this, while your ribs are smoking, periodically you can spray them with this to keep them moist and better prevent them from drying out, while still adding some flavor while they smoke. So, again, this right here is what you would want to put in your squirt bottle, or just you could put it in a cup and use like a mop brush or something to brush it if you prefer to do that. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm only going to video making this once. So we're going to go straight from the base sauce to the thick barbecue sauce. So this is boiling now. It just started boiling. I see some bubbles coming up. You don't want to boil it for a long time, because you don't want to make it all evaporate. But just as soon as it comes to a boil, which is almost there. Almost. There it is. So as soon as it comes to a boil, reduce your heat to low. After reducing your heat to low, this is where we're going to add our stuff for the finished sauce. Now again, this is the sauce that's going to be thick. So this is what, when you're getting ready to take your ribs off of the smoker, the last part, we're going to go through all of that. This is what you're going to brush on them. But before I add this, we'll just call it your mop or whatever. That's what you can use your mop brush or a squirt bottle to spray on periodically throughout the smoke. So we're adding brown sugar. And again, this is a matter of personal taste. Do you want it more sweet? Do you want it more ketchupy? You'll just have to fiddle around with how much brown sugar to ketchup ratio you use. I mean, this is not a written in stone science here. So these are going to be really sweet. This is going to be a really sweet sauce. But then I'm going to add my ketchup. And then with this on low heat, gently stir, because you want to get all the lumps out of it. You're wanting to make a very well blended barbecue sauce. I know there's a lot of people that cheat, and I'm guilty of it too. I'll go out to the store and buy an off-the-shelf brown sugar based barbecue sauce, and those are all right in a pinch. If you've got something that Here's the way I look at it. This is my brutally honest truth. This is the brutally honest truth, rather. If you're going to take the time to properly smoke ribs, but you're not going to take the time to make this barbecue sauce that I'm doing right now, then you really have no business smoking ribs, because you're impatient. And if you're impatient, then, why take a shortcut and go to a grocery store and get an off-the-shelf barbecue sauce when you're taking the time to do the ribs right to begin with? Why take that shortcut? And I'll admit, I've done it before, and they were okay. But, it was one of those deals, it's like it was a very, perfectly smoked rib, and, it was, it had the good hickory flavor, and everything was great, but it just had that off-the-shelf barbecue sauce finishing. So there was really nothing unique about it. I mean, you can still make your guest happy with an off-the-shelf barbecue sauce, and they may not even realize it. But the bottom line is that people that are very, they're very familiar with food, most people are going to immediately be able to tell that, hey, this is an off-the-shelf barbecue sauce. When you have this sauce, it's going to be unique, and it's important, man. I mean, it's very important to take the time. If you don't have time to barbecue, don't barbecue. If you don't have time, just go down to your local barbecue joint and pick something up, man. Don't try to rush barbecue. You can't rush barbecue and have a good finished product. You're just going to have something that's like, oh, that was okay. Too bad I wasted X amount of time. Whereas if you take an entire day, like this takes, we're looking at, again, for the pre-bake process of the ribs, that's 3 hours at 250 degrees. The smoking is going to be another 3 hours or so. So, it's not and all of that can change depending upon the thickness of your meat. So, it's not a rush process. You just got to take your time. Now, see, like this right here, even the barbecue sauce, you want to use a proper spoon that won't scratch your little pot that you're doing your barbecue sauce in, but just continue to stir gently. Watch as those lumps of ketchup go away, and the lumps of brown sugar have already gone away, but I've got a few lumpy ketchup spots. Again, this is just a low heat. All we're doing is stirring and blending all of this. And here in a minute we're going to sample it. And again, this sauce is a matter of your personal preference. So what I like to do is, if you're uncertain how much of each ingredient to use for your personal taste preference, what I would recommend doing is just having some saltine crackers on hand, and dip a saltine cracker in the sauce and give it to your friends, your family, have them taste it and say, hey, is this too sweet? Is this too spicy? Is it too garlicky? Because all of those things can be remedied. Or is it too citrusy? If you put too much lemon juice in it, there may be an overpowering lemon type effect. So, you gotta be, you can't rush this stuff. And this sauce, again, this is sauce that I'm doing now because when we proceed within this cooking tutorial, when we get to the, when the 3 hour mark is passed and I put these on the smoker, this sauce won't go on immediately. this thick sauce right here won't go on until later during the smoke. So what I'll do with this, once we finish stirring this, which we're almost to the point to where it's well blended, we're going to taste it, and then we're going to tweak it if needed. I mean, it may be exactly right. So let's see. So we've got this right here. The lumps are out. I mean, there's going to be just a few tiny ketchup lumps probably. But we're good to taste now. So what I'm going to do is taste this. It's very good, but it's too sweet. So there's a few things I can do about sweetness. I can add more black pepper to dull the sweetness. I can also add a little bit more garlic powder to dull the sweetness. And then I can add a little bit more ketchup to dull the sweetness. And again, this is all personal preference. You can also add a little bit more Worcestershire to dull the sweetness some. Some people like a really sweet barbecue sauce. There's a certain balance that I'm going for. I like the sweet, but I like the peppery and the garlicky. So again, what I like may not be what you like. So do that saltine cracker thing. You know, right now when you're doing this, do the saltine cracker thing. You know, dip it and let people try it, and you know, get the feedback. You know, everybody's gonna be different, but you can probably, you know, if you got 10 people, you can at least say, okay, well, 6 out of 10 like this, or 7 out of 10 like this. You can maybe tweak it accordingly so you satisfy most of the people. Bottom line is that regardless of how you mix this, it's going to be awesome. And you know, again, when you're eating this, you're not just tasting the sauce. I mean, the sauce is setting off the excellently cooked, slow cooked rib meat. So you know, you got something that's slow cooked. It's baked in, you know, you pre-baked it in the oven to penetrate it with the flavors and the tenderness. You slow smoked it on top of hickory or apple wood. And you know, you've just really got a good flavor. And all this is doing is further enhancing that. You know, it's adding that sugary, sticky, sweet taste and texture that we're accustomed to when we eat ribs. Unless you're using a dry rub. Now, you know, some people don't like the sauce on their ribs. They just like hickory smoke, and you know, in a dry type rub, they don't like a sticky, sweet sauce on it, which is fine. This is how I do mine. And see, now that's well blended, so let's do another taste test here. And that is on point, in my opinion. So I've still got the sweet, but I've dulled down the sweet to where it's not overpowering. I've got a pronounced garlic and you know, peppery type taste now. So this is perfect. So what I'm going to do is take this out of the little pot here and put it in a container, because I won't be using this for probably about 5 hours from now. So at least I've got it prepared. So when that time comes, all I have to do is start brushing it on my ribs. It'll be in the smoker at that point. So now we're just waiting for the ribs to pre-bake. And you can see here, this is my sauce without brown sugar and ketchup added. So I'm just going to keep this in this little pot, and I'm going to use actually I'm going to use this right here, man. This little brush, and I'll brush the thin sauce on as I you know, as I smoke the ribs on the grill. And then when I get to the part to where I'm going to finish the ribs off, so the last half hour or so, see this sauce? This is the thick sauce that has the ketchup and brown sugar added. So that's my finishing sauce. So again, I've got this thin stuff right here that I'll be using here in a little bit as we smoke the ribs, and then the finishing sauce for the last half hour or so to really give them that good, sticky, sweet barbecue coating, barbecue sauce coating. One thing to be aware of is the amount of charcoal and how hot it is. You don't want to put your ribs on right after, right after your charcoal's going. You got to let it sit for a little bit, cool down just a little bit. This over here is something I do. I put it's cast iron. It's got hickory chips in it, and then as this goes through, I'll add more hickory and or applewood. Okay, so this right here is after 3 hours in the oven, the pre-bake, and you can see they're not by any means done. They're not done at all. Well, I mean, they're a little bit done. But what we've done, you can see the onions and the and the garlic clove, and then also the cola that I had in there. And again, use whatever cola brand you want to. But you can see how this is very, just the bones are starting to stick out. You're seeing it's got that awesome tenderization already in progress. And it's got the, all of these flavors, from the onions and the garlic cloves and the cola and the barbecue salt and the, just everything in here. It's all blended. And this is just the first part. Now we're going to take my grill. You can use a smoker, but man, I've gotten to where I just like that. You can find linked within this video's description the grill like I use, but I just use a grill. And then I've got a little side box that I put hickory or applewood in. Today I've got hickory in the side box, but when I replenish it throughout the smoke, I may add some applewood. So let's take these puppies out to the grill. So now you can see there's a steady smoke coming out, and that's the hickory smoke. So since we just took them out of the bake and they're still really moist, we're going to let them smoke for a little bit, and then we're going to apply the first round of the mop. So what you'll want to do periodically throughout your smoke is rub your mop on. You could also, if you want to use a squirt bottle, you could do that as well. But this works great. Just keep everything good and moist, and it also continues to enhance the flavor. This is when you apply the finishing sauce, and it's about a half hour, 45 minutes out before I take them off. Woo. So this, of course, is the thick sauce that has ketchup and brown sugar added to it.
Hey y'all, Captain IrixGuy here. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to subscribe. It's youtube.com/IrixGuy. And ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.